Okay, Steve, welcome to the 20 something podcast.
So I was born and raised in Wisconsin, small town boy. Had the opportunity to get into bodybuilding at a very young age. So I was able to win the Mr. Wisconsin on September 15th, 1989, and come back with the first place trophy of the Mr. America. After Mr. America, I had the opportunity to get hired on this little TV show called The American Gladiators, where I was known as the Tower on the American Gladiators. It wasn't, if I had to write a script for my life, I couldn't.
Okay, Steve, welcome to the 20 something podcast. I am very excited to have you on today. So I'll kind of have you give everybody like quick who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump back and kind of start from the beginning and go from there.
Sounds great.
Cool. Go for it.
Well, thank you, Grace, for having me on your podcast. Your dad speaks very highly of how proud he is of you and what you've accomplished. And I've known your dad for years. I get the opportunity to hang with him every year at deer hunting season back in Wisconsin, my hometown, just like yours. So I was born and raised in Wisconsin. Had amazing childhood growing up. Lived on a farm, and didn't have. Now this is back in the when I was in the 20s. I mean, this is back in the 1980s. I don't think you were probably even born yet. And,
No.
Growing up in Wisconsin, small town boy, had the opportunity to get into bodybuilding at a very young age, all through learning about it, reading in magazines, and won the Mr. Wisconsin, and then later moved out to California, went on to win the Mr. America. After Mr. America, I had the opportunity to get hired on this little TV show called The American Gladiators, where I was known as the Tower on the American Gladiators. Did that stint for several years. Had amazing opportunities to travel the world, and got out of the American Gladiators. Continued my acting career, in the entertainment industry for several years after that, and. In today's world, I'm a top real estate agent out in the greater Los Angeles area.
Very cool. Lots of different routes there that we can jump into. I'm excited.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So Wisconsin to California, how did you make that move? What was the decision there? Why did you decide to do that? And what was that route like?
Okay. So back in 1979, I was 16 years old. I bought my very first muscle fitness magazine, and Gary Leonard was on the cover of that magazine, and he was the current Mr. America. And I just remember looking at that magazine, Grace, and go, wow, what would it be like to be Mr. America? And, again, I was about that big around. And, but I just said to myself, I'm giving myself 10 years to become Mr. America. Now, didn't know how I was going to do it or what I was going to do it, but I set that goal and it lived inside of me. Didn't share that goal with a lot of people because if I told people, they would have laughed and said, there's no way you could do that. So I tried to learn as much as I can about working out. As a matter of fact, in shop class in high school, we built equipment and we got graded on, we got credit for it for our shop class, but I would build like a squat rack, a bench press, a preacher curl bench. We built the equipment so we'd have something to work out on. And I did this all based off of photographs that I would see in the magazines, reading different books, but we didn't have the luxury of the internet or Instagram, Facebook, or any of that kind of stuff to learn the way kids do today. So that's how I plunged into it in 1979, and graduated from high school. Again, I still didn't really have I wanted to play football. Unfortunately, I just wasn't that scholar athlete to have colleges look at me. As a matter of fact, I wanted to play at Clemson in your neck of the woods right now. That was and I remember writing to Clemson. You wrote a letter. You didn't send them a video. You didn't, I remember writing a letter, and unfortunately they wanted some game footage on me. And back then, our teams, we were in a small town, they didn't have footage on me. They didn't do that kind of stuff. So I couldn't put together a highlight reel, and it just kind of fizzled out. So my football dreams kind of went on, in the back burner, only because I didn't have the means of getting the colleges what I needed. And quite frankly, I wasn't known as that top football player, so they didn't know about me.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of had to sell myself if I wanted to go.
Right.
So I took a route after, I didn't go to college. I jumped right into the working field, at 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But yet I started, I joined my first gym. And I remember my parents being really upset with me always about, why are you driving in every day, 20 miles to go work out? You can go
Mm-hmm.
out and shovel manure or throw some hay bales around and get the same workout. And I just tried to explain to them, it's not the same, mom and dad.
Right.
They just didn't understand it. But I did it. And this goal that I had in 79 lived in me all the way through the early 80s. And in order for me to qualify, be able to compete in the Mr. America in 1989, I had to win some local state shows. So
Mm.
started training for the Mr. Wisconsin, and I set my goal in 1986. So I was
Mm.
able to win the Mr. Wisconsin, which qualified me for the Mr. America.
Mm.
And after the Mr. Wisconsin, I was out here in California visiting. Again, all I ever known about California and bodybuilding was Venice Beach, Gold's Gym, Venice Beach. So that was my destination where I wanted to go. And it was right after the Mr. Wisconsin, and I was working out, and one of the main owners, Ed Connors, of Gold's Gym, saw me working out in there. And he comes over and he introduced himself. He goes, never seen you here before. I said, well, I'm from Wisconsin. He goes, I'm Ed Connors. And before he get Connors out, I said, Mr. Connors, I know who you are. He goes, you do? I said, yeah, I see you in the magazines. He says, well, he goes, I like the way you look as far as you're tall, you're in shape. Well, I said, I just, finished a contest, so I'm in decent shape still. And
Mm-hmm.
he goes, I'd like to take you to lunch. And I'm like, well, unfortunately, and I was booked that day because my girlfriend at the time, her family lived in San Clemente and they had dinner plans. So I said, can I come back tomorrow? And he
Mm-hmm.
said, sure. So fast forward, I go to have lunch with him the next day and he wants me to move to California. And I said, well, I've got family in Wisconsin. I really can't.
Mm-hmm.
But, let me think about it. So we exchanged phone numbers. We didn't have cell
Yeah.
phones. Didn't exchange emails because we didn't have emails.
Yeah.
We exchanged phone numbers. So I remember a week later, I was sitting around and I get a FedEx pack. A FedEx guy comes. Now, FedEx back in the 80s, it was something super important if it was coming.
Okay.
And it was like 40, it was $45 to send a FedEx package back then. So I remember getting this FedEx envelope and it was a note in there from Ed with a check for $5,000. Now, $5,000 back in the 80s was a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of money today. And it says, thought this might help get you out here a little faster. And I remember telling my mom, Ed Connor sent me a check for 5,000. He wants me to move to California. She goes, "Don't cash that. He'll own you then." And dad, she just thought the worst, of course.
Yeah.
And I said, "No." I said, "I don't think it's like that." So packed up the U-Haul, and I headed to California. And he gave me an opportunity to actually work in a Gold's Gym in San Diego. So that's where I landed, is in San Diego.
Nice.
So I was able to take a little bit of money that I was able to save up, and I invested in this Gold's Gym in San Diego. And now this is in 1986. So what am I, 23?
Mm-hmm.
23
Okay.
years old. I'm headed across country by myself,
Yeah.
And quite frankly, mom and dad didn't even question, they just said, "Good luck, son." And then, and I remember my dad saying, "You'll be back.
Oh no.
Yeah, you'll be back." And so, and he also said, "Steve, you'll never make money with your body." So I think those two things, "you'll be back" and "you'll never make money," were
Mm-hmm.
the fuels that burned inside of me, Grace.
Yeah.
No matter of all the lows that I've been through or the highs that I've been through, I've always tried to keep things very level key and try to be who I was brought up to be.
Yeah.
So landed in San Diego, got a little apartment and just, started. Now I was around bodybuilding minded people
Mm-hmm.
that could guide me, I could pick their brains. And I was able to, from 1986, train 3 straight years and was able to go to Worcester, Massachusetts on September 15th, 1989, and come back with the first place trophy of the Mr. America.
Amazing.
And so and again, that was, it wasn't, if I had to write a script for my life, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a winger type of guy. I wing it. I don't have a plan. I mean, a lot of people, they have this regimen. Okay, graduate from high school, graduate from college, get your master's degree, and get a corporate America job.
Yeah.
Or, it's all regimented. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not how my life was.
Right.
Um, so I was later then on a photo shoot for a cover of Muscle Fitness magazine. Um, and the photographer says to me, "Hey, you're in great shape right now." This was right after the America. He goes, "You're in great shape. You should go try out for this new show." And he hands me a VHS tape. Now, you probably don't even know what a VHS is.
I've seen them.
Okay. So he hands me this tape, and I was living in San Diego, and this photo shoot was up here in Los Angeles. And so he says, "It's tomorrow at Universal Studios." So I remember getting home late from the photo shoot, popping the VHS into my player, and seeing the pilot of the American Gladiators. And I remember looking and go, "Oh, this is a stupid show. Why would I do this?
Yeah.
Why would I want to?" So I laid in bed that night, and I'm thinking, "Steve, get your butt in the car up to LA, and this could be an opportunity." And get up there and get to Universal Studios. And I can remember it was like yesterday, Grace. Walked there, and I think every meathead bodybuilder in the country was there for this audition.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, "Oh, I'm just going to go back." But I said, "No, you're up here. Just do this." And so the first three obstacles are things that you had to do to qualify yourself to get to the next round. Is you had to be able to run a 40-yard dash under 5 seconds. You had to climb a 30-foot rope under 15 seconds, and you had to do 30 pull-ups under a minute. So that eliminated probably 85 to 90% of those bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Because it's all about your athleticism. And I at 305. That's what I weighed back then. Back then, I ran a 4.840. I was able to do the pull-ups, and I did the rope. So I made it to the next round, and was kind of happy about that. And I'm thinking, okay, this could be cool. This could be cool. So I remember standing there in front of this big table. I don't know if you've ever been in front of someone that's got like 6 people looking at you and they're evaluating you, and you God only knows what they're thinking. So
Yeah.
I'm standing there, and one guy says, "Why should we pick you?" That was the first question. And I just remember, growing up, everyone always says, in order to get noticed, you have to be different. You have to stand out. And it's always lived inside of me. And I just remember saying to these guys, and I didn't say it cockily, I said, "Look around. What do you guys see?" And this is the first thing that came to my mind, that this wasn't scripted at all, because I had no idea. And I just said, "Look around. What do you see?" And they're like looking around, and they go, "We don't get your question." I says, "What do you see?" And they still couldn't answer. I says, "Everyone is about this tall." I says, "I'm this tall." I says, "And I want to be the tower." They looked at me and they go, "You can go over here." I mean, I gave them a solution without having to ask me any more questions.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I mean, in today's world, if people could just not be so scripted and just be who they are, that to me is, it's not only spontaneity, but it's personality.
Yeah.
And because everything is so robotic right now, when you text message, email, it's like, I would rather pick up the phone and call someone to hear the tonality in their voice versus a text message. Me personally. Now, a quick text message is fine, but if I'm asking a detailed question, my wife, I said, "Oh, just text them." No, I can't get this question accomplished via text.
Right.
I want to hear, because you can tell a lot about a person's attitude just in their voice.
Yeah.
You can't in the text. So I think that's a problem that our society is leading towards.
Yeah.
So get hired on the American Gladiators and have this amazing opportunity to be on this show that I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
It was in the beginning stages. And my very first day of filming the show, they come knocking at my door and they said, "Well, Tower, we need you on set." So I get my gear and I come running out and I run right into Arnold Schwarzenegger. Run right into him. Boom.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And he looks at me, I look at him, he goes, you, that big guy that's on the cover of the magazine. He goes, "You look good." Now, that was that photo shoot that I was on,
Yeah.
just, when I got this the audition tape. And he was down in the corner of the cover advertising Total Recall, his movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, come to my dressing room. He goes, "We talk." Now, I look at Arnold. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger wants me to come to his dressing room. Okay. My very first day I'm filming, my director is saying, "We need you on set now."
Uh-huh.
I look at him, I look at Arnold, and he says, "Come back when you're done." So I'm out there, my very first day, I'm thinking, this is amazing. Arnold Schwarzenegger wants to meet with me.
Yeah.
I'm being filmed right now for a TV show that I have nothing about. So I do my thing on set. I
Mm-hmm.
come back and I go knocking on his door. He goes, "Come on in, sit down." Just had some chit chat at the beginning, but he goes, "Let me tell you," he goes, "no money in bodybuilding. Get out." He goes, "Become a household name."
Okay.
And again, I still didn't comprehend that because I'm just started filming a show that
Yeah.
wasn't popular yet.
Right.
And I said, so I just was shaking my head saying, "Okay, Arnold, I got you," and just, he goes, "Big bodybuilders will always prevail." And, he's giving me all this. And it was probably the most amazing meetings. And I've met with some really high end people. To
Mm-hmm.
this day, that meeting with Arnold in his dressing room stands out in my mind like it was just yesterday.
Yeah.
And, 3 years later, we were the number one show in the world. I knew exactly what he meant by become a household name. Okay. So through those years, I was able to have this many opportunities. I traveled with Arnold, Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, Demi Moore, for Planet Hollywood grand openings all over the country that Arnold got me into. And
Mm-hmm.
we just had an amazing time, being that household name,
Right.
and but I just always looked at myself, Grace, as just a small town boy from Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what set me apart from a lot of other people in the entertainment industry. Because again, I don't care. I mean, quite frankly, Tower, I'm Steve.
Yeah.
I'm Steve. Tower is, who I got paid to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, today it's still great, today. And with our documentary that came out, it kind of rekindled, the American Gladiator, I guess, legacy.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down to it, I'm still Tower.
Right.
And that's what success for a lot of people, it affects them. They
Yeah.
just get too big for their britches.
Right. So for people that aren't familiar, can you explain American Gladiators?
Sure. So American Gladiators was the first of its kind, Grace. It came out in 1990. It was a athletic reality competition show. So
Mm-hmm.
where average Joe people would come on and we were obstacles in their way. So they weren't really competing against us for points. They were
Mm-hmm.
competing against another person for points, but we were obstacles in both of the competitors' way on many different apparatuses and physical. It was a very physical show. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't know if your dad shared with you, but I had over 14 surgeries from doing the American Gladiators.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I split my head open, got 44 stitches, broke my nose twice, tore my pectoral right off the bone, tore my hamstring off my glute. So it was a very physical show, and the
Yeah.
public didn't know that, because we were at this time superheroes.
Right.
We were kids looked up to us. So if they knew that we got hurt, we wouldn't be that superhero anymore.
Mm. Okay. So, okay, I watched the Netflix documentary and I was wondering this the whole time I was watching the first episode. And then you said that like you tried out after watching the pilot. Why did you decide to do that after seeing like how these people were just getting kind of tossed around and the injuries and all of that? Like, what was the deciding factor? And then, especially like all the injuries you just talked about, like, why continue doing it?
I guess here's that I'm a competitor.
Mm-hmm.
I love to compete. I compete in today's business, in real estate,
Mm-hmm.
not, I compete with myself. I don't compete with other people. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I compete with my own goals and my things that I set for myself. So, but why do I want to do it? Because it was a way for me to continue to be athletic
Mm.
and showcase my body. So
Gotcha.
it was kind of the best of both worlds. I mean, I was able to, be athletic, but still be a bodybuilder because I was one of the bigger body gladiators on the show.
Right.
Um, and I always tried to show up in shape, for filming.
Mm-hmm.
We would film 12 weeks out of the year, and then the rest of the year I would recover from my injuries.
Right. Whew. Dang. Okay. So as far as like the events in the show, did you do like specific ones or did you all kind of rotate through different ones or how did that work?
No, my favorite was the joust.
Okay.
My record, standing record right now is I was 150-0 in joust.
Oh, wow.
That's the one with the pugil sticks where you get up on the platform.
Hmm.
And but no, every day when we were filming, they would have the shot schedule or the schedule of the two. We would film two shows in one day, so they would have every event, and they'd have the gladiator assigned to that event. So there was just kind of a random.
Gotcha.
And as we began film, or as we were in, a week into filming, if a gladiator was injured, where he was, say, for example, my elbow was like dislocated, I
Hmm.
couldn't do a hang-in event as well as someone else that didn't have an elbow injury.
Right.
So they would work around our injuries, quite frankly.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. And you did, how long did you do that all the way through till the end of the show or what was the timeline?
Well, I was on the show for 4 seasons.
Okay.
Okay, and I actually took a long, hard look when I retired. Just said, okay, this getting beat up is just it's getting tough. It's
Yeah.
getting tough. So yeah, I just decided to hang up my singlet and said, okay,
Hmm.
I'm going to continue on. At that point, we were the number one show in the world. So I had that to kind of parlay off of
Hmm.
for jumping into the entertainment industry where I was
Right.
able to, I did over 30 national TV commercials.
Wow.
I starred on Married with Children. I did several different feature movies. Now low
Wow.
budget, nothing big, but
Hmm.
low budget movies.
Hmm.
So and then I also kicked off the Warner Brother network with a show called Muscle, where I was a series regular on that.
Nice.
And so again, it just there's no script here, Grace.
Right.
I
Yeah.
I I just kind of like, oh, sure, I'll try that. I mean,
Okay.
I had no formal training
Uh-huh.
in acting
You're right.
because quite frankly, acting is when okay, what's wrong? When you try to act, it's not believable.
Hmm.
Acting is being who you are
Mm.
with other people's words.
Okay.
When people act, they act. It comes off as like, oh, they're imitating.
Hmm.
But the key to it is taking someone else's words or
Hmm.
script and making it believable when you deliver it.
Yeah.
And that's the key that I figured out real quick is, yeah, I ended up taking some cold reading classes to be able to learn how to cold read and be believable.
Hmm.
I auditioned for a film where I had to have a German accent, so I took dialect classes
Yeah.
to try to get my German accent, and it did not work. I sounded like a Okie from Wisconsin.
That's so cool. So you just kind of took the opportunities as they came and just
Yeah.
jumped in.
Yep. Yeah. And that's just the way my whole life has been,
Yeah.
Grace. It really has. I mean, I just, all my siblings are all college educated, and they got, they're engineers or marketing degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel I came from the University of Hard Knocks, and the University of Wing It. Let's just
Yeah.
wing it,
Yeah.
you know. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that at
No.
all.
No.
My wife doesn't have a college education either, and she owns multiple businesses.
Right.
Three Keller Williams, three escrow companies. So it's I believe it's life experiences that make you the person you are in business.
Yeah.
Okay. Like in my business today, in real estate, um, when I go on a listing, when I go to meet with a seller, I'm
Mm-hmm.
auditioning. That's the way I look at it. It's like an audition for me.
Yeah.
So that's the mindset I put myself into is if I'm coming to meet you for the first time to list your house, you know, you have a $25,000, $30,000 check that I'm auditioning for.
Right. I like that.
Again, so many people go in with commission breath and they try to oversell themselves.
Yeah.
Thing is, I don't go in there and try to sell myself. I sell my value.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to do different from all the rest as far as how I'm going to get there, the maximum exposure.
Mm-hmm.
I sell the fact that now I come in. Now I have a coach. I have a coach a business coach that
Mm-hmm.
when I first started working with him, he said, and this guy's just a mega agent, and he says, why don't you use anything from the gladiators? I said, well, my wife doesn't think it's necessary that I can do it myself, and
Mm-hmm.
and she just kind of like shunned on it. He goes, all right, let's do this experiment. He goes, I want you to change your profile picture on your Facebook and put a gladiator picture up there, and he goes, and we'll talk next week. Well, I did that, and it just blew up. It blew up, and he goes, all right. So we then started incorporating the American Gladiator images and likeliness, all that stuff, in all
Mm-hmm.
my marketing pieces now, all my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when I walk in to a listing appointment, people look at the booklet that I'm given them, my listing book, and it's wrapped with all 30 years of of the entertainment industry. It's a hardbound book.
Yeah.
And they look at the book and they look at me and they look at the book and they go, we knew you from somewhere. Okay, so what it does is it breaks the ice.
Yeah.
And then my response to them, I said, well, you let me in your living room back then. Let's do it now.
I like that. That's
You
awesome.
know, so again, I don't have commission breath. I don't go in there desperate to get their business or listing.
Right.
If it's a fit and they feel comfortable working with me, great.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do the best job ever. Another thing that helps me a lot is that, I've been able to, and again, before I got into real estate, I hated social media. I had nothing to do with it. And in 2018, I decided, okay, I better get on this kick.
Mm-hmm.
So once I opened up to social media and then the documentary hit, my Instagram is just skyrocketed like 70 some thousand followers.
I'm sure.
So the social media part of my marketing, has a lot of bearing on a person making a decision over, agent A or agent tower,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
because of the reach that I can get.
Right. Right. How long into you being in real estate did it take for you to make that change with the business coach telling you to like start incorporating the American Gladiators into it?
Probably about 6 months before I hired him. So now
Right.
again, when I first got into, I was in the real estate industry prior to being in 2000. I got out of the entertainment industry
Okay.
altogether,
Okay.
and then I had opportunity to get into title and escrow. Now I title and escrow, I knew nothing about. I met this gentleman, and I remember the very first day of showing up as a title, for the company. He hands me a box of business cards and a rate book, which a rate book is what the fees are for transactions.
Mm-hmm.
I go, what am I supposed to do now? He says, you'll figure it out. That was my training.
Oh,
That was my training. So I asked a lot of questions,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to, over the years from 2000 to 2017, work my way up to be the number one title rep, work my way up to be the divisional president and a
Mm-hmm.
county manager. So I don't like being average.
Yeah.
And then when I got my license in real estate, and coincidentally, my wife happens to own the brokerage that I'm at,
Mm.
and the um, the fact I said I'm going to be the Keller Williams Rookie of the Year my first year. I like setting goals like that,
Yeah.
you know, and and I was the Rookie of the Year my first year in
That's
Keller
awesome.
Williams.
That's awesome.
And when I'm prepping our training for when training for a show, my production goes up
Mm-hmm.
because my mindset is so focused. And now we haven't talked about what I'm, as far as so my wife competes with me. So I set a bucket list goal that I want to win the Masters, Mr. America. So Terry and I, my wife, we competed 2 years ago. We placed second in the Masters. Okay, when
Mm-hmm.
I was 60 years old, and really was close. I mean, close doesn't matter. It's either you win or you lose. So,
Right.
but I felt I did pretty good showing for that. So we're going to be competing again this July in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the Masters. She competes in figure, and I'll do the bodybuilding, of course. But
Wow.
it's interesting how my production numbers go up in real estate because
Mm-hmm.
it's just when you have consistent a commitment and consistency in your life on a daily basis, it it carries over in all aspects of your life,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know. And people today they're trying so many different. They want to have so many irons in the fire or lines in the water, and they're
Mm-hmm.
just looking for anything to bite or stick.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just commit and stay focused and be consistent,
Mm-hmm.
it'll start happening for you.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone today wants that instant gratification, the shiny new object.
Yeah.
And there is no shiny object. It's Nothing's changed about business or the way we conduct business. It's when it comes down to it, it's the commitment and consistency.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think that this generation has just kind of had a little bit easier with seeing success blow up overnight, quotations there, because of social media. So then it's like, oh, well, this person who just popped up on my page, they're all of a sudden successful. So I can be successful just like that. And then that takes away from the mindset of like work ethic and actually doing the things and being the person for it and not just being the brand of it.
Right. Yeah. It's again, they want the shortcut. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There was no shortcut for me to win to Mr. America.
Right.
Okay, it
Yeah.
was 10 years of me
Yeah.
breaking dates, not going out with my friends, you
Mm-hmm.
know, staying at home, getting up at 2 a.m. in the morning
Mm-hmm.
to eat some protein. Okay, so there is no, I mean, unfortunately, the industry or the sport that I chose to be in, you don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to get on stage.
No.
And I mean, I know you know that. Um,
Yeah.
So, it's unfortunate that so many people look. I see kids in the gym today. I mean, they spend more time looking at themselves in the mirror. And Terry and I just laugh, we just laugh our asses off because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, spend a little, and they don't put their weights away. And
No.
I told this kid the other day, I said, put your weights away. He goes, well, I'm done. I said, I know you're done. Put your freaking weights away.
Yeah.
And I said, back in the day, I said, you would have got your ass kicked in the gym
Mm-hmm.
from an old timer
Mm-hmm.
because you first of all you lipped off, number one, number two, you left your weights hanging around. I mean, it's just a different mentality. They
Yeah.
just feel entitled.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so you like when you set a goal, like going and winning Mr. America or being rookie of the year, do you sit down and plan out stuff then and like strategize, or is it like just kind of like a flip in the switch in your brain and you're like, all right, this is what we're doing and rock on? Or how do you achieve that? So many people, they set goals and then they're like, I don't know how to get there, and then they end up quitting or
Right.
not being able to reach it. So how do you get from I'm setting this goal to yeah, and I achieve it every time?
Well, for the Mr. America go back in 79, that was something that just, I ate, slept, and breathed it daily.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I shared it with my training partner, of course, and I shared it with, didn't even share it with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a goal that lived inside of me. And it just like every day, I thought of that. Now, as far as the Rookie of the Year award goal, I shared it with as many people as I could to make me accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And like now in today's world for training for the masters right now is I'll have a sticky note on the morning mirror
Mm-hmm.
with the date of the competition,
Mm-hmm.
just as a daily reminder of what I'm looking at and how far I'm out.
Right.
Okay. Again, I work with my wife, I train with my wife, we meal prep together. So we have each other for accountability,
Right.
which makes it just amazing. It's
Yeah.
like a lot of times, partners, one person's, like, oh, you're going to the gym again. Oh, I'm going to stay home alone. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether it's training for a competition or being better at your job, you
Right.
have to have your significant other on board with you.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're going to be battling that person and battling your own mind, thinking, "Oh, should I be spending time with with my significant?"
Right.
Okay, so if you're going to set goals, you have to be whoever you're with in your life. You have to
Mm-hmm.
have everyone on board.
Right. Right. You have to have the environment to support it.
Correct. And
Yeah.
share it with as many people as as you can. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I won't be I I shouldn't say I won't be. I will start posting on social media like my target like I'll do a picture of a target and I'll
Mm-hmm.
say I'm target for for July 21st.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't know what that is, but I
Right.
do. People who are close to me know,
Right. Right.
you
So you
know.
like share it, but just enough where like it's still kind of private and it's not like, oh, look at all these things, but it's still like, all right,
Right.
these people know that I'm working towards this. That's all they need to know. And then that holds you accountable.
Correct.
I
Correct.
like that.
And the biggest thing today also is these in people that want to be influencers, or they just, they're just looking for the next big gig.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for that handout or that someone to sponsor them. Yeah, and I know
Mm-hmm.
you got to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta, you got to figure out a way to keep the lights on.
Right.
But it's if you just let it kind of develop organically
Mm-hmm.
and just stay true to what the plan is,
Yeah.
it'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen. Like you said, so many people quit before the time is right, or
Yeah.
before they saw the light, and like, oh, it didn't work. Oh, that sucked. Or I hate excuse misers. One thing you'll never hear from me is make an excuse of why I didn't do something.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't get a listing, I don't make an excuse for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, well, obviously I wasn't the right fit for that person. That's not an
Mm-hmm.
excuse. It's a reality,
Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I placed second in, the last time we competed. I didn't make an excuse for myself. Someone else showed up in better condition than me, or the judges
Right.
saw that person in better condition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, people who make excuses are just only lying to themselves. They're
Yeah.
trying to pacify their own mindset for their
Mm-hmm.
failure or the lack of completing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I like that. So when it comes to like finding success just broadly, because you can go down so many different avenues of what success is and or different pieces of success, but what do you think is like a big factor in somebody being successful or finding success?
I think the big factor in just the word success itself is uh, there's many levels of success.
Hmm.
Okay. I was watching the Packer game. Packer game.
Oh
uh,
God.
I was watching a Packer game the other day, and the commentator was talking about there's a good player and a great player.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's all based on your effort.
Hmm.
And I thought, gosh, that's a great analogy
Yeah.
because everyone out on the field are great players.
Right.
But then there's those ones that stand out that are the greatest,
Hmm.
or the goats.
Yeah.
And what determines that? What determines that? It's the effort that's put in. They were specifically talking about Josh Jacobs
Hmm.
and the effort that he was putting in to get those extra yards.
Hmm.
I think it was Tom Brady, this one. I mean, there's someone that's talking about, well, he's the GOAT, talking about what it took to be the greatest.
Right.
And it's the little things extra. So the word success, just I'm successful is a very broad word.
Yeah.
Okay. So in order to be successful, you have to be good at what you do.
Hmm.
But to be great at what you do, you have to have a whole nother level of commitment.
Hmm.
Okay, to have
Yeah.
that ultimate success.
Yeah.
I mean, I always like to think that everyone in life is successful at what level, and
Right.
some people's margins are different. Your margin might be different than the next person that are doing podcasting.
Yeah.
So it's whatever you set it at, and then
Hmm.
you set it up here. Okay, what are you going to do to get up there? And
Hmm.
that's all going to be in your effort.
Hmm. I like that. People don't talk about that part, it's like you talk about success and it's like, oh well, and then they say like the cliche things which are true to a point, but I like what you said about there are tiers, and like when you get to one level of success that doesn't mean you stop there, like, oh, I'm successful now, I'm good, because then you'll never become great or greatest or the
Right, right.
best. Yeah,
Well, I'm constantly, Grace, I'm constantly raising my ceiling.
yeah.
My ceiling level is always right here, but I'm constantly raising it because
Hmm.
if you settle for where you're at, you're not going to ever achieve the greatness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, and it's not instant. It's not instant gratification. In order for me to be, in the greatest real, and quite frankly, I don't want to be, quote, known as the greatest realtor ever lived.
Hmm.
I'm good at what I do,
Hmm.
and I'm successful at what I do, but I enjoy changing people's lives through real estate.
Hmm.
I enjoy helping my wife with her businesses to
Hmm.
see other agents be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got between our three offices, we've got, over probably about 800 agents that are under my wife's brokerage or responsibility.
Wow.
So that's her success, is
Yeah.
making those agents, more successful.
Right. Right.
And I watch her take phone calls at 9 o'clock at night to answer questions. And I'm just thinking to myself, that's what it takes to be the best,
Hmm. Yeah.
at for her scenario. I'm not
Right.
saying that, everyone, but for her scenario,
Hmm.
she goes the extra mile daily.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
You got to be willing to do the things that other people aren't going to do, or that
right.
people are going to be like, oh, you need work life balance, or you need to, take breaks and stuff. And that's true in and of itself, but those are usually the types of people that are just going to clock in at 9 and clock out at 5, which if
Yeah,
that's what you want to do, that's amazing. But if that's not what you want to do, then you don't get to clock in at 9 and clock out at 5 every day.
but usually those people, Grace, are the first ones to complain.
Yeah.
The 9 to 5ers, or the clockers, or they're always like, oh, I need to make more money. Oh, I want to do, why can't I do this? Well, because you don't put an extra effort in,
Hmm.
you know, well, you don't put an extra effort in. I love watching young kids succeed because it reminds me of myself. I
Hmm.
mean, I didn't have, no, I shouldn't say I didn't have, growing up on a farm, I learned the ethics of work.
Yeah.
I learned how to work a full day.
Mm-hmm.
So I will always be in debt for with my parents teaching me how to be a hard worker and
Right.
committed to completing the job.
Right.
Okay, so that will always be instilled. But today, work ethics in kids, I always say, and my dad used to say this all the time too, is he's not afraid of work. He'll lay right alongside of it because that's what the kids today do is they just they see something that needs to be done, but they don't want to take the initiative to complete it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's just upbringing. That's their society that they were around or the environment that they were around. Maybe their
Yeah.
parents were 9 to 5ers, or
Right.
you just don't know what they're because you're a creature of your habit, or the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Right.
So and then there are some extraordinary people that just are completely different, that just but those are like unicorns in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where like social media and platforms like podcasts can really do good in this generation. And that's one of the goals for mine as well, is like I was so privileged to have the upbringing that I had to give me like the work ethic and the mindset that I need to be successful, but I know not everybody has. And so I feel like there are really great podcasts and platforms out there that teach people who didn't have that but who wanted it how to create and develop that work ethic and mindset and how to start somewhere. Now not everybody in my generation and below is interested in that, but those people that are and that are like, I was never taught that, that's where I feel like this type of thing can really come into play and actually help people figure that out, because everybody deserves a shot if they're going to actually go out there and ask for it.
Yeah, I think, listen, long as I see effort being done in a person,
Mm-hmm.
I'll give them my time.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people who just have those expectations that they're entitled
Yeah.
to make more money, or they're entitled to should have gotten that listing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, entitlement just doesn't work for me
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And show me an effort, and you know those your efforts will be rewarded. And
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing that I tell people when and I do a lot of talks. I talk about my efforts were greatly rewarded
Mm-hmm.
in my industry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all the hours, the late nights, double cardios, getting up at 2 a.m. to eat,
Mm-hmm.
early morning cardios, fasted cardios, all as much as I didn't want to get up. I used to visualize and say, what's my competition doing?
Yeah.
And I was rewarded for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not financially, you know,
Right.
um, I guess I was rewarded in allowing me to show up the best that I could be.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people think that it's all about the money.
Yeah.
It's about we have to make dinero to be able to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But success brings your financial success as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Arnold also told me, he says, Steve, he says, the more popular you get, the less you'll have to buy.
Mm.
And he was right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, Nike was throwing shoes at me. I was the national spokesperson for Justin Boot Company. Now, a bodybuilder endorsing a cowboy boot.
Yeah.
But I was the spokesperson for Metrics, the
Uh-huh.
protein company. Again, those were things of my commitment and my consistency
Mm-hmm.
that and sacrifices that I did back when I was training for Mr. America. There was the financial success coming from
Mm-hmm.
all my hard work.
Mm-hmm.
But it was 20 years later, Grace.
Yeah.
So I didn't look at it as what's in it for me now financially. I looked at it as what's in it for me now to win this Mr. America. What do I have to do today
Mm-hmm.
to win this competition?
Right.
What do I
Right.
have to do today to get this listing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I tell my clients that like something similar to that too, with like getting overwhelmed on, oh my God, like I'm not going to reach my goal in set amount of time. It's like, if you don't win today, tomorrow's not important. Like without the day in front of you, we don't have tomorrow. So what can you do today? Tomorrow
right.
does not matter till you're living it. And I think that helps a lot with like the overwhelm of being in social media and like just seeing all of that in the limelight. Is like, just focus in on the tasks in front of you and the day in front of you, and like what do you need to do today to be that 1% better, and then the next day have the same mindset.
As long as you don't repeat the negative or something negative from the previous day, it's a win in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, if you cut back one meal,
Mm-hmm.
that's a win.
Mm-hmm.
If you walked 20 extra minutes on the treadmill, that's a
Mm-hmm.
win.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, also people think that winning means that it's overall the whole day. It could be
Mm-hmm.
just one particular, get up an hour earlier,
Yeah.
that's a win.
Mm-hmm.
Have one less cocktail, that's a win. So there's just so many things that you can parlay into, you know, taking day by day by day and putting a ton of wins together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I think fitness is such a great place to start if you've never experienced something in which like you put a bunch of work into it and you saw the outcome of it in a positive way. Because with fitness and health, you can actually physically see the way that your body changes, and then that in turn helps your brain understand that like, oh, when I put effort into something, it turns into, this outcome that I wanted. And then once you realize that, then it's, I feel like at least for me, it was always easier for me to put effort into things that I knew I wouldn't be able to see as quickly, because I knew what that work looked like and how I would reap the benefits just when it's on a different timeline, when it's outside of your fitness and health.
Right. Yeah, and I tell people all the time when I talk to them, if you have commitment and consistency in your life,
Mm-hmm.
it relates to everything in life. Let's talk about your relationship with your parents. If you're committed and consistent with your parent, you have a great relationship. If you're committed and consistent with your significant other, you have a great relationship. If you're committed and consistent with your children, you have great kids. If you're
Mm-hmm.
committed and consistent with your workouts, you're going to see improvements. So if you think about, if you're committed and consistent with your job, you're going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So those two words, commitment and consistency, to me, are the lifeline for me.
Yeah, I like that. And it's simple. You don't have to
Yeah,
read into it.
yeah. Am I committed? And then ask yourself a question. Okay, I'm committed, but how consistent am I with my commitment?
Right.
Or I'm consistent, but how committed am I really? Are you
Mm-hmm.
looking for the next shiny object? If
Mm-hmm.
you're looking for the next shiny object, you're not committed.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's
I like that. So looking kind of back on your 20s, what would you say is like the greatest thing you learned in those years?
um, I think the greatest thing that I learned when I was in my 20s was I was very trustworthy of other people.
Mm,
And I made choices that I probably shouldn't have because I trusted other people.
mhm,
Okay. When the success started happening with the gladiators, people were grabbing onto my coattails and I trusted them that they were doing the right things for me. Or
mhm,
they were around me because they liked me, but when in all reality, they were around me because they wanted something.
mhm.
So I think the biggest thing I learned, life lesson I learned, is just to um, trust yourself and no one else.
Okay. Like that.
Okay, because if you trust in yourself, you'll attract people that you want them to be in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, the great thing about it is we get to choose. We
Yeah.
get to choose who we want to rub elbows with.
Yeah.
We get to choose who I'm in business with. because
Mm-hmm.
I had so many opportunities where people were coming to me and saying, well, I could do this and I can do that. Well, if you do this, and I lost a ton of money, trusting people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Trust your intuition.
Well, yeah, it's you know when you know.
Yeah, you
You,
do.
you, you, now, I wasn't a very good picker in women, so I guess until now.
Get that straight.
So yeah, I mean, I've had multiple marriages, but
uh,
again, I'm not a quitter.
right.
I'm gonna keep doing it until I get it right,
Yeah, that's awesome.
and
Yeah. So, okay. One final question for fun for the people that were big fans of American Gladiators, but like, what was your favorite part of all of that? Or if you have like a fun story to share from your experience there.
I'd have to say, Grace, the most rewarding part of the American Gladiators had to do with being the role models that we ended up being.
Mm.
And I had the most amazing opportunity to grant a wish for the Make-A-Wish Foundation for a child.
Oh, wow.
So Steve Henneberry from state in Wisconsin, our small town in Wisconsin, would have never had this opportunity.
Yeah.
The Gladiator platform gave me this opportunity to get a phone call from the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Oh my
Now,
gosh.
this is right after we were filming. I just compound fractured my wrist. I had surgery, so I was in a cast.
Mm-hmm.
They called me and they said, can you, this little boy, his his wish before he passes is to meet Tower from the American Gladiators. Now, I knew about the Make-A-Wish Foundation, but I didn't know the severity or the details of it.
Right.
My egocentrical mind went right away to, well, I just had surgery on my wrist. I don't want him to see me in a cast. Can it wait?
Mm.
Not even thinking about what this little boy's going through.
Mm-hmm.
They go, sir, we don't know if he's going to make it through the night.
Oh.
So they said, would you be okay with jumping on a plane tonight and heading to North Carolina?
Mm.
And when they told me that, I said, absolutely. So I remember flying there and getting to the hospital, and this little boy, Chase, had slipped into a coma,
Mm.
9 years old. And I came there and I wore a white Gladiator t-shirt and I took that off and I put it on him.
Mm.
And sat in bed with him and I grabbed his hand and I said, Chase, I came from California. This is Tower. I know that you can't respond to me, but I know you can hear me.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I made it here for you. Your wishes will come true. And I felt this squeeze on my finger.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember coming home that night thinking, what a selfish ass you were,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that you want to look a certain way for this child, and he didn't live to his 10th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I then got a letter from his mom with a photograph of us in bed together. And God, this always breaks me up.
Mm.
She said, we cannot thank you enough for making the trip. The good Lord took our son Chase much too early, but
Mm.
we know that all his dreams came true with you coming here.
Mm.
As we buried our child in the shirt you gave him off your back,
Oh my gosh.
grasping the photograph that you signed for him, Chase's dreams all come true.
Mm.
That's what did it for me.
Yeah, that's
That's what the
incredible.
American Gladiators was for me.
That's incredible. Wow, how
So
special. How amazing that you got to do that for
don't
him.
don't get too many opportunities like that in
No,
life.
no, no, not at all.
Yeah, going to Planet Hollywood grand openings or Hollywood premieres. That's nothing for that. Doesn't even compare to this
Mm-hmm.
Make-A-Wish
Mm-hmm.
that I granted.
Right, right. Yeah, that really just sheds light on how much of an impact you can make doing things that you you don't think twice about like at the capacity of the impact, like how you were that little boy's hero and you had no idea until you got that phone call, because you're just doing what you're doing, and maybe you
Right.
know a little bit like, yeah, I am making an impact on some people, but you never really know the true capacity until it's like staring you right in the face.
Exactly. And the fact that he could have chose Michael Jordan, well,
Right. Right.
top, but he chose me,
Yeah. That
you
is
know,
so cool.
yeah, that's again, that'll always be, that'll always be a memory and
Hmm.
just a soft spot in my heart for that little boy.
Yeah. Oh, how amazing.
And in today's on a lighter side, I get to live the life of a grandparent, being a grandparent.
Mm.
And so, we've got two grandchildren, 6 and 3. And
Yeah.
uh, we have a place in Denver, Colorado. So that's where they are. And we get the chance to be spoiling grandparents.
Yeah.
We're actually Papa and Nona.
Oh, how fun. That's incredible. Um, okay, well, to kind of wrap everything up, um, I guess where like can people follow you on Instagram, or like if you want that at all, or do you have any like closing things that you wanted to say and didn't have a chance to incorporate it into anything?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You can follow me on Instagram at Big H Homes, just BIGHHOMES.
Cool.
That's where you can find me. And then listen, I'm going to do a cheesy plug here, but if anyone out there knows anyone wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, hit me up.
Perfect. All right. Sweet. Well, that's a wrap on the episode. We'll close it out there, but thank you so much for sharing all of that. That was
Absolutely.
so interesting to hear about.
Yeah, it was a great. I had fun telling the story. You're an easy person to tell a story to. Uh, best of luck in your success.
Thank
Again,
you.
success and being the greatest is what you just need to figure out how to get to,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and you will.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so
you
much. I
will.
appreciate that.